Hey there, JRPG lovers and long-suffering followers of the Zemurian timeline. Grab your favorite snack, maybe a tall glass of coffee or a bowl of ice cream if you're trying to channel your inner Van Arkride, and get comfortable. We need to talk about a heavy hitter. The day has finally come. The legend of heroes Trails Beyond the Horizon is here, and it's promising to take us, quite literally, beyond the atmosphere. Is this the grand climax we've been waiting 2 decades for, or is it just another setting the table moment for the next big event? After spending over 80 hours glued to my screen, and trust me, my eyes are definitely feeling the strain, I've got a lot to tell you. This review is going to be a deep dive into every corner of this game, based on the most rigorous insights from the international press, but with that chatted between friends vibe we like here. So, buckle up, we're heading into orbit. Let's start with an introduction to the chaos, space, the final frontier. If you'd have told me back in the Trails in the Sky days that we'd eventually be talking about rocket launches and orbital stations, I would have thought you'd had one too many orbital juices, but here we are. Trails Beyond the Horizon puts us right in the center of Project Startaker, humanity's first real attempt in Zemuria to reach manned spaceflight. The story doesn't pull any punches. Following the path of Trails into Reverie, the game uses a system of 3 parallel routes that converge in a way that's either masterful or a bit chaotic, depending on who you ask. We have our favorite fixer, Van Arkride, Rean Schwarzer, the star instructor who seemingly can't have a single quiet vacation, and the triumphant return of Kevin Graham, the heretic hunter who hasn't led a game since the far-off days of Sky III. The premise is ambitious. The Republic of Calvard is on edge, and what looks like a massive technological leap is actually hiding conspiracies that threaten to shake the very foundations of the continent. It's a story of sci-fi and fantasy, filled with betrayals, political intrigue, and revelations that will genuinely leave your jaw on the floor. But watch out, because it's not all smooth sailing in Zero-G. Now let's talk about what keeps us awake at 3 in the morning, the combat. Falcom has continued to polish the hybrid system they introduced in Daybreak, and in Beyond the Horizon, it feels tighter, though maybe a bit crowded with buttons. On the field, you can swap between real-time action and classic turn-based combat. The flow is fantastic. You whack a few smaller enemies to stun them, and then, boom, you enter turn-based mode with a major tactical advantage. However, some critics feel this action system is a bit like decorating a supermarket cake with plastic rings. It looks shiny, but the real depth is still in the turns. But wait, there are some great new features. First, we have ZOC, or Zone of Control. This mechanic lets you slow down time. In action mode, it lets you land extra hits like a ninja. In turn-based mode, it grants you consecutive moves. It's essentially your panic button for boss fights. Then there's Awakening, finally. Story-based transformations now have a direct impact in real-time combat. Seeing Van turn into the Grendel, Rean use his spirit unification, or Kevin activate his stigma while you're actively moving through the environment is pure hype. We also have Shard commands, the evolution of Brave Orders. You spend your boost bar to buff the team, and the best part is that you can now overwrite enemy boss orders, though it'll cost you a lot of energy. It's a constant tug of war that makes boss fights feel like high-stakes chess. The problem, and here's the objective part, is the HP bloat. Some bosses have a ridiculous amount of health. If you haven't mastered stealing turn bonuses from the timeline, these fights can drag on longer than a Monday morning meeting. It's satisfying when you win, but it can be exhausting if you're just itching to see the next scene. Regarding the structure, are the 3 routes a blessing or a curse? Dividing the narrative is a bold move. Rean's route is pure adrenaline as he investigates the true motives behind Startaker. It feels like a conspiracy thriller. Kevin's route is dark and captivating, taking us back to his roots as a church assassin dealing with his own demons. On the other hand, Van's route is, strangely enough, the slowest to get going. At first, it feels a bit disconnected as he deals with a new faction called the Vestiges. But as you push through, his story regains its weight, as this is still the conclusion of his Calvardian arc. The game handles character management very well. It doesn't drown you in 50 protagonists at once. Instead, it picks key players like Toa, Altina, or the group consisting of Rufus, Lapis, Swin, and Nadia. It's a relief to see that Falcom learned their lesson about overcrowding the cast. Each character gets their moment to shine, especially in the connection events, which remain the soul of the character development.
Seeing a reformed Rufus reflecting on his past with Kevin is absolute gold for longtime fans. I have to take a mandatory break to talk about performance. If you play on Nintendo consoles, get ready. Trails Beyond the Horizon is a technical showcase for the Nintendo Switch 2. We're talking about a game that hits 120 FPS in handheld mode with minimal visual compromises and maintains a solid 60 FPS on your TV. It's wild. Textures are crisp, S-craft animations are cinematic, and finally, the text is actually readable without a magnifying glass. On PS5 and PC, the game looks phenomenal, with lighting effects that make cities like Edith feel vibrant and alive. You'll still find some typical Falcom jank, like low-res textures in some dungeons, but overall, it's the biggest graphical leap in the series. We can't discuss Beyond the Horizon without mentioning the Grim Garden. It's the darker, heavy metal version of the Martian Garden from Daybreak 2. It's a procedural roguelike dungeon that is mostly optional, but necessary if you want the crystals to upgrade your gear. On the positive side, it's a great way to try out character combinations that would never happen in the story, and to unlock memories that fill in vital lore gaps. On the negative side, it can feel a frustrating interruption to the story's pace. Sometimes you just want to find out who the traitor is, and the game tells you to go clear 5 floors of a random dungeon. Plus, unlike previous entries, there's no post-game content in the Grim Garden once the credits roll, which is a letdown for the grinders. Another point is the LGC morality system. It's still there, but its impact feels much smaller this time. It doesn't change your party as much as it used to, which makes you wonder why you're choosing moral options at all. It feels like a missed opportunity, especially for characters like Rean or Kevin, where a Chaos version of them would have been incredible. So, the final verdict, is it worth the trip? Objectively speaking, Beyond the Horizon is a masterpiece for fans, but a brick wall for newcomers. If you try to jump in without playing at least the 2 Daybreak games, you're going to be more lost than a tourist without a map. The game expects you to know every corner of Zemuria and every bit of family drama. Things you'll love include the combat system, the top-tier emotional reveals, the technical performance on Switch 2, and the sensitive way it handles complex themes, including natural and well-written LGBT moments. On the flip side, what might frustrate you is the glacial pace of the first act, the massive cliffhanger ending, and a UI that can get very noisy and cluttered with too many systems. As a final word, and as a fan who's been here since Falcom games looked like hobbyist projects, I have mixed feelings. I love that this giant interactive visual novel is still growing and going to space, but sometimes the excess of systems and the endless exposition can suffocate what makes Trails great, the heart of its characters. But when you're in the middle of an epic boss fight, the prog rock music kicks in and you unleash an S-craft that fills the screen with sparks while the fate of the world hangs by a thread, you realize there's nothing else like this in the industry. Trails Beyond the Horizon is a firm step toward the end of an epic decades in the making. It's not perfect, but it's absolutely essential if you've made it this far. My advice? Play it, take your time, and don't try to understand the orbital science all at once. Just enjoy the ride. Zemuria has never been this big, and the horizon has never been closer. And that's all for today. If you like the review, don't forget to show the video some love and tell me in the comments which route are you most excited for. See you in the next one, somewhere beyond the horizon.